All right, I just finished making a piece of artwork in the style of VAPORWAVE. I don't know if you're familiar with this style, but here's an example. Anyway, last time I posted a video like this, somebody had asked if I could do a tutorial, so I was like, you know, gotta ask me twice. So I went ahead and made another one today. I was feeling very artsy and I decided I'm gonna do this. So without further ado, let's step on the computer and I'll show you what to do. All right, cool. First of all, I started out with this photo. It took me a while to find photos that I really liked, but I looked on websites like Unsplash, and I found one of this dude on this grassy hill, and I really enjoyed it. I thought this would be a cool place to put a Greek statue. So I spent a long time looking for a Greek statue. I found it because it's kind of in that vapor style. First thing I did was after I put both of the images in, I started working on getting rid of the person on the hill. It's a little bit bummed. I mean, look at it. I'm not laughing at you, man. It's a great photo. Anyways, I had to get rid of him using the content aware fill. Took no time at all. And then I just kind of, I tried to level out the background, but it didn't look very good. It looked like it was repeating itself too much. So I had to figure out a way to kind of get rid of those bushes on the side without just stamping them out. So I just did a horizontal flip on the layer and just kind of masked out where, you know, I wanted it to be. So then I put in this Greek god Hercules. I don't know what he's leaning on. People have asked me that already, and I'm not sure. It's kind of gross looking though. Anyway, masking is always a giant pain in the ass and always have to go in and fix it up, and I come back and forth on this a lot throughout the project, and it really is it's, you know, it's hard to kind of do because you get stuck with those like white lines around the outside. Anyway, after I got done with that, I had to extend basically the sky because I just thought compositionally it's too high up, like the hill is too high up, and so I had to bring it down a little bit, and I just used more content aware fill to fill up those upper gaps, and Photoshop does a great job of filling those types of things up. Once I kind of got Hercules in a place that I liked, I continued working on getting rid of those like white highlights around the edges, and then I decided I wanted to blur the background a little bit more, so I just opened up the filter gallery, like the blur gallery, and then the tilt shift blur was the one I used. And I just wanted to kind of give like a more like punchy, so like the focus is more cramped, like you have a smaller depth of field. So that's what I did, and I think it turned out pretty good. And now I'm just trying to mask out kind of like the shape of the statue in the ground. So, you know, like as parts of the statue come further, I have to kind of erase them further down just to kind of give it like that 3D feel, like it's actually physically in the hill. If you do just like a straight line, it won't look very good. So like I kind of imagine like I have to kind of cut out around the leg, whatever, you see what I'm doing. It makes sense. At this point I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and try and create a grass brush so I could paint over the statue where it connects to the ground to try and hide that line better. And I didn't know how to do it, so I went and Googled it, and immediately upon Googling, I was like, this is not something I'm interested in learning right now. So I just found a bunch of free brushes online of like grass textures. I downloaded them, installed them, and then as you can see, it works pretty well as far as like masking. And I was like, this masking doesn't look super good. So I decided to start painting, and the painting looked absolutely horrendous. So I decided to keep masking, but I did it in like more layers, and I kind of shaded the grass around the body so that it would look a little bit more like there's like a contact shadow. Even though it's a hazy day, it still looks like, you know, more based in the actual hill. And in the end, I think it actually looked really good. Now I'm just trying to color correct and make the Hercules guy match the hill and like the cooler tones of the background photo. And this was pretty hard. This took a long time back. This is actually the majority of this video, is going back and forth trying to fit him better into the scene. And once I found something that I was like pretty okay with, I decided now I'm gonna have to do this, what's like called like the infrared effect, where you're basically reversing channels. And the way to do that is basically just duplicate the group, right? We'll make a group of all your current photos of the actual, like everything after everything's composited, make a group of it, duplicate the group, right? And then merge the group so it's actually just one image instead of a bunch of layers in one group. And after that, just Control I and invert it, right? And so it's like gonna look all like crazy and, you know, hypnotic, Halloweeny, like purpley and crazy. And then after that's done, go to the blending modes and change that to color, right? And then on top of that, you're gonna create a channel mixer adjustment layer, I believe it's called. Yeah, channel mixer adjustment layer. And then you're going to switch the red and the blue channel. So then you get this like hip, whatever you call it, this like vapor wavy, purpley, bluey, tealy look. And then you pull up a hue saturation adjustment layer and mess with it a little bit further, just fine tune the colors. I like it to be a little bit more like bam, bam. I decided I didn't really like the color of the sky, so I came back and painted basically just a blue color, and then I kind of dabbed around different shades of blue, like randomly, just so it wasn't so monotonous. And then I just changed the blending mode to color so that everything underneath it was turned to that blue color. And I just did it on the sky and then redid the whole process. And now I noticed that down underneath, like in the shady areas where there should be like some sort of reflection of the grass, like you don't really notice it, but there is some sort of green reflection from the grass, right? So I wanted to put that kind of on the lower parts of his body where it's darker, where you can kind of see like the light is bouncing up off the ground onto him. So I had to go in there and paint some green, and this was a lot of back and forth to try and get this right. But in the end, it turned out really cool. At some point, I was trying to add in some text over the top, some like edgelord shit from Fight Club, but I thought, you know, I tried it in Korean and Japanese, and then I even tried it in Hebrew, and none of it worked, so I just kind of stopped. I got rid of the whole idea. Once I moved past that, I wanted to add in scan lines. So I just Googled scan lines, downloaded some like 1080 picture, and I just layered it down, and I merged all of them so that they covered up the entire image, and then I brought it into Liquify, and I bended the lines a little bit. And then I decided I need to do it more and more and more and more and more until I got a cool like liney effect across the image. I don't know if you could see it very well on this video, but in the final image you can see it really, really good, and it looks awesome. And then I decided I also wanted to kind of blur the channels between the images. So what I did was copy the final image twice, and then I double clicked on the layer and opened up there's like 3 checkboxes there that say RGB, and I unchecked them so that I only had a layer that was red and a layer that was like a teal, so that they lay on top of each other and the colors mix and you get the final product. But if you move them slightly, you'll get like a glitchy effect. I brought both of those layers into the Liquify filter and kind of blended them around a little bit, so you get a little bit of like this weird distortion. I think it really adds like a lot, and you're kind of like, that's weird and strange, but I think it looks cool. And then merged everything down into one layer and opened it up in Adobe Camera Raw. And after making, of course, the layer a smart filter. And from here, I just kind of played with the basics tab and really upped the contrast and the saturation and vibrance and texture. And I was just trying to get like a little more punchy. Down the effects, I added grain because grain is awesome. I also added a lot of vignetting. And I normally do this just by dumping the vignetting all the way down, and then I play with it to kind of figure out where exactly it should be. And then I raise it back up to kind of adjust the amount to what looks normal. And I decided I wanted a little bit more distortion, just so the corners look like they're being stretched out more. So after doing that, I clicked OK. I rasterized the object and then kind of expanded it, so because you have those like bendy lines on the side, so you have to kind of push those out and like recrop the photo. And that's pretty much it. That's it. The image is done. It's really not that complicated, and I think just understanding the like vibe or the look or the aesthetic and feel of like the vaporwave. It's a lot of these like pinks and teals mixed with like old Greek art. If you like this, let me know by liking this. Even hit the sub button if you're so inclined. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you went to the website, link below. If you really like this photo and you want to print it, you can buy these prints on my website, and that's awesome. I have a couple tutorials there, blogs, everything. Go check it out. There's a lot of awesome resources that I'm just working on growing and growing and growing. I'm very excited for that. And that's it. I'm going to take off this hat because I'm boiling hot in this room with all these lights, but I haven't shaved my head in a few days and it's getting kind of ridiculous, so bye.